evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ghost Biker Garage. I have a great guest tonight, and we've got some kind of time restraints here just a little bit, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get into it. We'll take care of Ghost Biker business and historic Scott County Jail business here when we take a quick break with our guest. But all of you who have seen the advertisements and stuff that we've been putting out there, you know this lady. I know that probably most people here in the chat room, they know her. Anytime that the name Gettysburg is brought up, this woman's name goes along with that. Anytime I talk about going up in that area or just talk about that area, people are always like, "Hey, have you gone to the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange or the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash?" I mean, this is a very busy lady that we're really honored that she's taking the time to come on and share some stories with us and talk about everything that she's got going on. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to go ahead and bring Pamela Berry on. Hey, Pam.
Hi, thanks for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to come on with us.
Oh, I'm honored.
So we're going to just go ahead and dive right into it because I know you're busy, and just reading over your bio and your resume, I got to tell you, I am so impressed. And
Oh, thank
just
you.
the fact, this month we're highlighting, ladies of the paranormal during Women's History Month. And I can't think of another person that is so supportive of females in the paranormal field as yourself.
Oh, thank you. I'm humbled.
Well, why don't we go ahead and talk about how you got on this paranormal journey that you're on?
Sure, absolutely. It started as when I was a child. Um, I used to play with the Ouija board with my grandmother, and we had seances on the weekends. And I just honestly thought that everyone did that. I thought everyone um, spoke to spirits in some way, shape, or form. It's just how I was raised. So it just became natural. And then when I saw things starting to come on TV years ago, I just thought, wow, there's other people finally that are on that same path that I'm on. So it became mainstream and it became kind of okay because as a kid, once I learned that not everyone was doing this, you kind of kept it to yourself.
I can
Um,
understand that.
Yeah. And, this month, networking, working with women, fixing everyone's crowns. Sometimes they don't even know that they're crooked. And sometimes they don't even know that you're helping them straighten out. Um, it's amazing.
I can only imagine. So you're trained at Lilydale
I
and
am.
have quite a strong education in in healing and being a Reiki master. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Absolutely. I found, the way I found Lilydale, I got a brochure in the mail. I didn't order it. And I was like, what is this about? So I just started to read it. And I just knew that I had to go there, even though there were many things in my way, many bumps in the road, challenges for me to even get there that first time. But once I stepped foot in the Dale, I knew that I was home. It's my favorite place on earth. So I got my Reiki master in Gettysburg. And then I saw an advertisement. My teacher in the Dale is Tom Kratzley. And there was just something about him that I knew that I wanted him to be my teacher. And the teacher always presents themselves when it's time. And I got my healing mastery in the Dale. I was there for an entire week studying and learning, and it was an experience that I'll never forget. So in 2019, I was asked to come back to the Dale to do a teaching little I presented, and then I was asked again. So this summer, the first Saturday in August, I will be teaching in the Dale again. This time it's paranormal equipment, speaking with spirits using paranormal equipment. So I'm very excited and humbled again for being able to go. And it's me, my husband, Dave Haney, Jim Wyrick, and Mark Nesbitt. So we're all going. It's Gettysburg is coming to the Dale. So we're excited.
Nice. Very nice. So are you originally from Gettysburg?
No, I'm from Baltimore City originally.
Okay.
So I was a single mom in Baltimore. And I used to bring my kids to Gettysburg to play. And I knew that I had to come here. I had to live in Gettysburg full time. Something with the energy and the vibration just pulls you back to Gettysburg. It's just something very special. And I got my income tax one year and I had enough money in the bank. I gave my landlady a month's rent, a month's security deposit, and I had one more month in the bank. And I'll tell you, success is on that other side of fear. Once you step through that fear and you face it head on, you can do anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you're proof of that with everything that you're doing, with the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange and the Battlefield Bash. I'm going to pull up on the screen here. Let's see, the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange page. And if we can talk just a little bit about that.
Sure.
Okay.
So, we love equipment, and my husband empowers me to do crazy things. So I just thought, let's see what we can do. And I'm actually the only woman in the paranormal field to own a brick and mortar store. So I'm the president and CEO of Gettysburg Ghost Exchange.
Nice. And how long have you all been in business? I know it's the
about 6 years.
Okay, and it's the largest in the Northeast?
We are. Yep.
Very nice. Very nice.
Again, manifest it. Turn the page. If you're stuck, don't stand in the hallway. If the door won't open, crawl through a window. Do whatever you have to do with good intention, and it'll happen.
Very, very true. So what all? It looks like you have a variety of options there at your brick and mortar store. What are your services that you offer there, as well as some of the different products?
Sure. So we buy, sell, rent, and trade. And that being said, somebody might have a piece of equipment that they just had bought from somewhere else, and it just doesn't fit them anymore. So they could turn that in and use that for maybe a more expensive piece of equipment. And then we rent equipment. So you can come into the Ghost Exchange and say, hey, I want to rent anything from a K2 meter to, a Mel meter. And they can rent it. They can go out on their walks, or they can go on an investigation and come back and return it.
Okay, very cool. Because I mean, you're not at a shortage of options of places to investigate there.
Right.
At Gettysburg. Having that as a rental option, I mean, that's actually very, very cool. We've got a question here in the chat
Sure.
room from Chris Sumner. She says, what has been your greatest challenge with regards to setting up your store, and what has been your greatest reward? Great question, Chris.
Thank you for that question. I guess my greatest challenge was just opening the doors themselves. I went and looked at the property and had a connection with the realtor that we didn't even know about. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on you. So it's finding the right connections, again, doing it with a good intent, and just working really hard. That was my biggest challenge. My biggest success is just being able to network. And the people that have walked through the doors really have touched my heart and soul. And we are truly the place that the paranormal field gathers. We go over equipment together. We go over evidence.
Oh, wow.
We're no judging in the Ghost Exchange. So people, that when you're not being judged, you can just be totally honest and vulnerable and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, this is the experience I had on Sex Bridge or Suicide Bridge, or I was at Culp's Hill and I heard this or saw this. So it just opens up everyone to be able to just be themselves. And once you're yourself and you don't have to mask or hide anything, it's authentic, and you can just really get good evidence.
Absolutely. And so if somebody wants to do that, can they just walk into the exchange and just kind of come up and talk to you, or is it something that
Absolutely.
you have like scheduled appointments or?
No, my phone number for the store is my cell number. And my
Oh,
husband was
wow.
like, "Why are you going to do that?" And I'm like, "Because somebody might be on an investigation at 2 o'clock in the morning and something's just not going right, or a piece of equipment needs to be adjusted, or they just might need some encouragement." So that's my cell phone, and I answer it constantly. Yes, hi, this is Pam. Like, I'm here for everyone.
I love that. I love the fact that you can actually have someone to call when you're on an investigation, almost essentially like a paranormal 911. You know, not only are you so, are you involved and immersed in it and knowledgeable of it and also about the equipment, but also as far as being able for someone to reach out. That's very cool, and I had no idea that you all did that.
Yep.
Um so the events that you have posted here on the exchange, are these ones that, for instance, maybe that you all lead, or is this like in a partnership with the locations that, like the haunted orphanage here?
Well, it's kind of both. The orphanage, Jenny Wade House, on occasion, David Stewart Farm, and of course, the historic 1912 Hoover House. There are public investigations. That being said, when we do like the orphanage and Jenny,
Mhm.
they're small investigations. We sell 10 or 12 tickets, no more than 12.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Um, the Hoover House is our bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
So there's 4 of us partners in it. And again, we want people to come, and we want the energy to be like you're visiting your family, your grandmother's house. It's welcoming. We were an assisted living for a time. So it's residents coming back, not to be
Wow.
forgotten.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit more about the historic Hoover House when we come back from our break there, and because I've got that page pulled up, and you've just got
Okay,
some beautiful pictures from this location. We do have a quick question before we go into break here.
sure.
Fabian says, "Which do you consider to be the most active location or locations in Gettysburg, and where do you recommend based on your knowledge of that area?" Good question, Fabian.
Um, I usually step into the history of an investigation in Gettysburg because the history is so profound. So if we're doing the Jenny Wade house, which I have a big connection to, we'll open the doors and we'll have somebody say what Jenny said with emotion and with that vibration of your voice. If someone's to die here today, let it be me. And then we step into our investigation. The haunted orphanage is another amazing place. You can go on tours or investigate. But when you step down into that basement, you can feel the children, or you can feel, that's a really powerful investigation. It really hits you at your heart. So you have to kind of be ready for that. David Stewart Farm, again, the history. It was the biggest Confederate field hospital. So I like to, without disrespecting spirit, I like to step into that history and kind of see if I'll be welcomed with that.
Very cool,
So
and thank
that's
you,
how we do it.
Fabian.
So I'm going to step away for a few minutes and I'll be right back.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, be right back.
Mhm. So Pam had to step away for a few minutes, and so while we're waiting on her, please everyone don't leave because we've got a lot of really great things coming up. I see some really good questions over here, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of just a little bit of business until Pam comes back by. So, it's been a busy week here in East Tennessee, and if and it looks like my cat is making an appearance behind me. So it's been a very busy week here. We've had some crazy ass weather. This weekend it was uh, single digits and the biggest snowfall that we've had of the year. And then all of a sudden, the very next day, snow melts. It's up to 60 degrees, and we're suddenly back to biker weather. So we're looking forward to that. Ready to hit the roads, doing some biking, and going to some really cool locations that we've got lined up. But if you're on the road and heading out to the historic Scott County Jail, we've got some really cool things with that going up here during the month of March. As I've said with Ghost Biker, also with the historic Scott County Jail, we are highlighting women in our Women's History Month. We have some flashlight tours left for the end of the month, as well as we have those, as well as the ghost hunts that we have coming up. We have a couple public ghost hunts. I'm going to go ahead. Thank you, Dr. Sumner, for this. Going to pull that up. You can see all this information on the historic ScottCountyJail.com website. It's historicscottcojail.com. And so you can see the public ghost hunts that are led by myself and Dr. Sumner, as well as the flashlight tours where we cover different females who were involved with crimes, as well as femme fatales, and then victims of crimes, and then just historical figures in Scott County. We cover all of those. We did just announce 2 big events that are coming up, and we're going to have all of the details on that after we get confirmation on Sunday. We will be posting one of these, but we have the it's the blessing of the bikes, and that's going to be on April 16th. It's going to be the Saturday of Easter weekend, and so we're going to be covering bikers from different regions with blessings, and that's all going to be taking place there at the jail. We've been working with a Christian Motorcycle Association, and the specific chapter we've been working with, they're just working with the rest of their chapter to get that confirmed, and we should know something by Sunday. But it's going to be April 16th, which will be on the Saturday at noon, and we'll have more information on that. So if you ride a motorcycle, come on out. We're expecting a big crowd that day. And also the Harold Young Memorial Scholarship Ride, that's going to take place on May 21st. We did have to change that date. I've been advertising it as the week before, but some different things have come up. So we'll be doing that on May 21st. And so we'll have more information on that at the end of the show. So looks like Pam's back. Hey,
Thank
Pam.
you for your patience. Thanks for allowing me to do that real quick.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back here and see if I know there were a few other questions, and Fabian says, awesome locations. Thanks for those informative answers. If somebody is wanting to do one of the ghost hunts that you advertise there at the Ghost Exchange, do you just post them up as they become available, or is that something they can just reach out to you to coordinate?
Both.
Okay.
Because if a team's coming to Gettysburg and let's say they want to do the haunted orphanage as just a team, I can provide a private investigation for that as well.
Okay. So for that, you guys definitely go check out the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange.com. Is that correct?
Yep. Or just look at Pam Berry on Facebook.
Okay.
I answer everyone.
All right. So let's see here. I'm going to pull up. So you were talking about the historic 1912 house.
Yes.
I want to go ahead and pull that up as well, because that's kind of a newer acquisition for you, correct?
It is. We're very happy. We just had our 1-year anniversary. So we were built in 1912. It was a private residence. The owner of the house died in one of our bedrooms, the Holzer room, actually. His daughter died in the Holzer room. And then it changed over hands, and then it became an assisted living for a while. Then it was a restaurant. But it seems like there's always something going on at the Hoover house. We found 3 pairs of baby shoes. Oh, wow. 1 pair in a room and 2 pairs in an attic. We found a box, pictures from the Hoover house, and I really like the one from Christmas in like the 1960s. You can see like the mantle, them all decorated for Christmas. It's just so sweet. We found a Bible, a German Bible, and Yvonne took it to her church, and they said it was the Book of Moses in German.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's fascinating. So it is any of the furniture original in this? I know you said it was an assisted living and such before, or is it you all have taken extra care to, I guess, put the time period furniture in there? Oops, it looks like Pam got kicked off. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I didn't hear your question. I'm so sorry.
I said, is any of the furniture or furnishings in there original?
No, they're all my antiques that I've been collecting for
Okay.
years.
Okay. Well, you've done a fantastic job of I love how this is set up.
Thank you. That's the Holzer right there. That's a private library, but that was actually the um the place that was the kitchen when it was an assisted living, and that was their canned goods section. That's where they kept all their pantry.
Okay. Okay.
But
What's
now it's a library.
that's I mean, that's very nice. So what's the most active area in this location?
You know what? It changes from time to time. The basement was a speakeasy. So it was called the coal mine. And the one bathroom, it says mule. And then the other bathroom, it says it's a bird. Um, but we've gotten dark shadows down there. Um, Up in the Primrose, we get a lot of EVPs up there. So it's kind of different each room. There's one room that's kind of peaceful. So if people are like, I'm really tired and I'm passing through, and like business people, I usually put them in the quiet room.
Okay. And do you so can you rent the entire place out, or is it mostly just
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep. We have the Tennessee Wraith Chasers there this weekend.
Okay, I saw the advertisement for that on your
Yes,
Facebook page. Are there still tickets available for anyone that wants to join?
there are tickets. Just call this number 717-521-7465, and I will get you tickets.
Perfect, perfect. And I'll take that and put that number in the show notes whenever we're done. That way, if anyone wants to go on there. You've got I'm going to pull that out of the stream, and I'm going to also pull up um, your all's really big event that's coming up here.
Yes.
The Battlefield Bash.
Yes.
There we go.
That is a weekend of hope and healing. So our Batman, who comes every year, he's actually in the Ukraine right now. Sorry,
Oh,
let me reword that. He's in Poland working
okay.
with the children who are displaced. So he'll be there for a total of 2 weeks to give some hope and healing to those kids. So let's everybody please ask Universe to surround him with protection so he returns home safely.
Absolutely. That's such a big task right now. So the Battlefield Bash is August 19th and 21st.
Yep.
And let's see, the proceeds go to benefit is it Wounded Warrior?
No, it's
Oh,
Pennsylvania Wounded
okay.
Warrior.
Gotcha.
Heroes for Hire, which is our Batman, and that goes for critically ill children. Um,
Okay.
Anywhere from any kind of serious illness, Batman works, and he also goes into schools and talks about non-bullying and just empowers the kids to kind of get back on track after COVID.
Okay, wow. And you all have an amazing lineup. I know I've talked to several different folks that are going to be speaking at the event, and it's just if you want to see someone in the paranormal, the Bash is the place to go. I mean,
Thank you.
look at
So
this
it's
lineup.
$20 to get in, and you get a wristband, and that lasts you the entire weekend. We're having 6 bands. I have not put them up yet, but the bands are back. We didn't have bands last year, but they are back this year. So I mean, you get a lot for your $20, but $10 goes to one charity, and the other 10 goes to the other charity. We raised over $10,000 last year.
Wow. And that's
Yeah,
amazing, especially in a year that, we were kind of not, I don't want to say in the middle of a pandemic, but we were kind of in and out and a lot of people weren't traveling. So that's amazing and good for you guys for being able to pull that off during such a
I was
difficult year.
astounded by the amount of people who came because they just needed to get out, and they felt the need to give back.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're
you
going
all
to keep on.
didn't get to have it in 2020, did you?
We did not.
Yeah.
No, we tried in about 2, maybe 3 weeks before. The governor said that only X amount of people were allowed in a room at one time, and I was like, that's more we have more vendors than what was allowed in the room. So there was no way we could do it.
Yeah, and that's hard because at that point, you've got locations and sometimes people that don't put on these type of events don't understand that, you can't just do it because you can't just cancel last minute because, of having, I mean, you end up losing a lot of money in that sense. So, how long have you all been doing the Battlefield Bash?
17, 18, 19. This will be our 5th.
Okay. Okay. And it seems to grow every year.
It is. We started out with like 13 vendors at our old store, and it just kind of grew. People were like, hey, you have something here. It's Gettysburg, it's our Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors, and it kind of clicked, and I'm glad and I'm grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't think of a better location for a better event.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so we've got a couple questions here. Chris Sumner says, are speakers invited or can you apply to be a speaker at future bashes?
What I need is just to either email me at pamberry@yahoo.com, and I'm already getting people lined up for next year's. So I just need to, I'll get you in and get you put down.
Perfect.
The thing with the speakers is the year that we had to cancel, I had to put, I had those speakers kind of there. And then now this year it's kind of, so we have all of the speakers for this year that we can fit.
Yeah, it's the same kind of situation with a couple Paracons that I'm doing this year myself. They had speakers already lined up last year and they got canceled for whatever reason. And so then they've carried on the same speakers.
Yeah.
Do you get tickets in advance at all for that? I mean, I'm sure you probably need to reserve your room early.
Yeah. So there's a link if you go to the Facebook page or GettysburgBattlefieldBash.com. There's links on both. And all you do is you hit the link. It does not charge your card. It just holds your room. And the easiest way, you get into the block that way.
Okay. And it looks like you've got it. If you go to the page, it's at the very bottom of the page and it's got the Wyndham as well as the button to reserve. So
yeah, if anybody has a problem, just Facebook me and I'll walk you through the process. It's not too hard.
I love that. Everything that you're doing, you make it so easy. I love that.
I try. The world's complicated enough.
That's right. That's right. And let's see. I saw another question here from Dr. Sumner. She said, have you found that women are being more included or active in the paranormal field now? If so, what do you attribute to that?
Yeah, I've never had an issue with being included. But I feel that everyone now, maybe because it's been such a couple years that's been so hard, it seems to be like everybody's willing to network now and work together and really pull together. And that's just really refreshing.
Absolutely. I mean, that seems to be the case kind of down here. I've done a couple panels myself where people have talked about women in the paranormal and inclusion. And I mean, personally myself, I've never had an issue with that. Everyone has always just been so inclusive and here in the South, it's really active with females in the paranormal.
That's good.
Let's see here. I was looking to make sure there weren't any more questions there. So are you still pretty active? I mean, as far as investigating on your own with the with a team or anything, or do you just mostly lead investigations now?
We network. We lead when I can go on an investigation that somebody else is doing. I'm like, yay, I don't have to do anything except investigate. I love it. So we don't get to do too many private residents anymore, which I miss doing.
I can see that. And is it, I guess the private residences are pretty active up there in Gettysburg?
You know what? Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to find a place that isn't active. I mean, everywhere you step is a part of the battlefield, whether there's an impression from the soldiers that were here, the animals. There were like 5,000 horses that died on the battlefield. No, I'm sorry, 500. And you know what they did? They just lit them on fire.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what do you do with horse flesh?
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, anywhere you go, there's some kind of impression.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Sandra asks, she says, we don't have many paracons here in the Northwest, and I believe she's in the Washington area. She says, I was wondering if Pam would be willing to give some advice on how to organize one. Good question.
I would say that it takes a year to plan, at least a year. And, you know, find a place that's willing to hold the event, you know, a hotel or a bed and breakfast, and start small and then work your way up. And start with a good group of people. Make sure that you have enough volunteers that have a passion for it also. And then when you're done, make sure that you show your volunteers that you know that you appreciate them, and they'll follow with you, and they'll continue to help you grow. Because I can tell you, like Eric Julian, he's our head of our volunteers, and he's been there every step of the way.
Wow.
Susan and Glenn. I mean, we have such amazing volunteers. I could go on, and I'm going to forget people. You know, Big Dave, he comes and he helps. Like, we have so many people that just are willing to come for our soldiers and our sick kids.
Wow, that's wonderful, and like I said, it shows. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have, you know, they're always talking about the battlefield bash, and just being there and the networking opportunities that that it provides for everyone, because there are so many great people for a great cause, and
Yeah, and you know what? They're afraid to network. They really lose out on a big part of the field.
that's right. That's right. And Sandra says, thank you. Um, Chris says, do you have a hard time getting community buy-in?
I don't know what he means by that.
Like the support of the community.
Now, Gettysburg's different. The Hoover House in Waynesboro. So the Waynesboro's the retreat end of the battle. So Waynesboro was held for 15 days by the Confederate Army. Waynesboro itself is so giving and so empowering and pushing people to do events and activities all down Main Street. It's Waynesboro's even more than Gettysburg, and Gettysburg's great.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine, I mean, just being, because I mean, you can't turn a corner without seeing, like you said, a haunted location or a ghost walk. Or I was up there 2 years ago and ended up staying at the Farnsworth, and
Love it.
you
What
know,
room did you stay in?
I'm drawing a blank. It was it not a William, but what was the,
McFarland?
I cannot remember the room. It was and maybe Chris will remember, because we were coming back from the Lizzie Borden house, and so
Oh,
we
I
ended up
love Liz.
stopping there. Yes, we ended up going to Fort Mifflin, and then Lizzie Borden
Love
house,
it.
coming back. Yeah, made a full marathon trip. So she may remember what room that was we had, because it, you know, it was at the end of the trip, and we ended up investigating all night just in that particular room.
Might have been
And
Jeremy's room. Maybe Jeremy.
I believe it was, because it was, I'm pretty sure it was the little boy's room.
That's Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking William. But yeah, that was so much fun. So I would imagine that everyone would be pretty supportive there. I know, again, here in the South, Dr. Sumner and I just recently acquired the historic Scott County Jail, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. And I'm sure some of that has to do with being here in the South and being something that's not as common in that
Right.
town that it's in. But it's been a little bit of a challenge trying to get that community buy-in from it. Let's see. And then Mark Davis, I totally agree with you here, Mark. He says, love to see something like that in Perryville, Kentucky, which is another great battlefield to investigate. I saw in your bio here, you were talking about conducting studies at the battlefield and conducting studies at the battlefield and comparing it to the activity on the battlefield to the battle occurrences. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, for example, Jenny Wade, we always investigate on the anniversary of her death every year. So and that's the time when it's the most active. So from the time that we started until last year, we consistently get Jenny. We consistently get the baby in the basement crying consistently. It's amazing. So July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is when we do most of our experiments. I hate to even say experiments, but that's the day that the 3 days that the battle happened, and we're just on the battlefield those days. Culp's Hill's really active during on the 3rd day, very, very active. So if you can get to Gettysburg, come during that time. And I already have Jenny Wade House already sold out because people want to do that. So I have it like booked for like 10 years because it's the most active day. And I'm like, we have to get in there on those days.
Very cool. So are there parts, I know when I was up there driving through, they were pretty strict about driving through the battlefield after dark. Is there anywhere on the battlefield that you can actually investigate after dark?
You can go to Sachs Bridge.
Okay.
You can go to the Eisenhower Bridge, which is called Suicide Bridge. We got really strict because of people going on the battlefield and vandalizing. So that's about it. I mean, you can drive through, but as soon as it's time for people to kind of go, I would suggest to kind of vacate. But you always have the Hoover House.
That's right. And I'm trying to, let's see, the best way to book that, is that to reach out to you, or do they go through Airbnb on that?
We have Airbnb, we have booking.com. That's usually the best.
Okay.
And then it's secured, it's on there, all the paperwork's done, and it just makes things a little more simpler.
Gotcha. So what is your favorite piece of equipment and favorite experiment to do at some of these different locations?
I would say my favorite piece of equipment is myself, and a voice recorder. I like to hear the humanness. I like to hear. So we were on a part of the battlefield, and we were leaving. And as we're leaving, we're asking questions. And it was actually the bloody Brickyard. So I just said, "Is your uniform gray?" And as we played it back, yup. Wow. So you hear. So usually when we do an EVP session, we kind of ask like 5 or 6 questions, then we play it back. So we want to be able to answer if someone has, in fact, answered us. So instead of just letting it play, we kind of do that. We introduce ourselves. But people miss the Brickyard because it's in town and a lot of people haven't heard of it. So I usually, when people come into the Ghost Exchange, I'll be like, "Come here, let me write you a map." And I'll draw them a detailed map. And I'm like, "Don't miss these places."
So what can you tell us a little bit? Because I'm not very familiar with the Brickyard myself.
The Brickyard is on Stevens Street. So you go down Stevens Street and you go to the dead end. And it was a place where they were baking bricks. The Union Army was there. The Confederate Army saw them. They looped around. It was hand-to-hand combat right there on a tiny little piece of ground. It's also where, that's why, on that piece of ground, why the orphanage came to be. Because there was a soldier that died with a tintype in his hand of his 3 kids. And they wanted to find out who these kids were, who their dad was. So in that search, they made copies of the tintype, sent them all out throughout the country, and got to identify the dad. And they built the orphanage for the fallen Union soldiers' children.
Wow. I can only imagine what the energy is like there with that.
It's intense. It can be intense.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Then it can be gentle too, the orphanage. I've had a grandfather sitting there saying, you can come and talk to me. I'm a granddad. And his face got stroked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of emotion when it comes to some of the different folks that come in and investigate in those locations.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Nancy says, thank you for the support for the veterans and for the children.
Absolutely. It's actually my honor.
And you can tell that with as much time and effort as you put into it. That's you can really see it. And if anybody has any questions or anything for Pam regarding the Ghost Exchange, Gettysburg, being, a female investigator, a Reiki master, if you have any comments, we've got a little bit more time left here in the show, so please feel free to put those over here in the comments, and we'll make sure to get to that here when we get to a break in our conversation. So you mentioned your family was or you used to do the Ouija board and stuff with your grandma. Was your whole family very accepting of this? And were they also, do you come from like a line of empaths or sensitives or anything like that in your family?
Well, my mom, when the phone used to ring, this was back in the 1970s, before any kind of identification, she would say, "Oh, that's such and such. Answer it. I'm very busy." So I remember a few times I'd pick it up and I'd be like, "Hello," and I'd be like to my mother, "How did you know that?" She'd be like, and I'd make an excuse for her. My grandmother was just very eclectic. She was Native American. She always carried a gun in her apron, and it's just how she was.
Very cool. Let's see here. Just double checking to make sure I don't miss any questions as we go through. And if anybody wants to, again, let's go ahead and talk about if anyone the numbers where people can reach you, and also,
Sure.
the different events that we've got coming up. I want to make sure that we get that out there before we go off the air here in a few minutes.
So my cell phone number and the store number is 717-521-7465. If anyone's in town and they want a Reiki session, that has to be scheduled because I'm in and out. But other than that, right now we're still off season. So tourist season hasn't started yet. That starts usually mid-April to the end of April. So we're open on weekends only right now. But once tourist season gets in, we will be there full time. But we bought a bus. We're going to start to do history tours and ghost tours in Waynesboro.
Okay.
It's going to be called the Dearly Departed Tours.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Waynesboro is a gem, and the history here had been forgotten for a long time. And it's amazing. I mean, in Waynesboro, there's even probably about 10-15 miles from us, there's a place called Black Coffee Cavern. And you go into her house and you go into the basement, and it's like Luray Caverns down there. It's amazing. It's amazing. You get like a 2-hour tour. There's so much to do when you're in Gettysburg. When you come to Waynesboro, I can send people to the caverns. $10, you go into these caverns. It's amazing.
Wow.
So there's just so much to do.
And how far is Waynesboro from Gettysburg?
We're roughly 22 miles. So Gettysburg, what you do is you get on 30. Cashtown Inn is at the bottom of the mountain. We're kind of at the top and over. So on the retreat end of the battle, as they were retreating and fleeing from Gettysburg, they came upon Waynesboro.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so close. I mean, you could spend a week between the two and you still not see everything.
You can, because it's weird. So the Hoover house is in one location. We're about 22 miles from Gettysburg. We're like 45 minutes to Harper's Ferry. We're very close to Antietam. So a lot of historians will come to the Hoover house and stay because then they can go to all their locations. And Shepherdstown's like maybe an hour tops.
Okay.
So there's a lot of really good locations.
Okay, awesome. And like we said just a minute ago, the Battlefield Bash is going to be coming up August 19th and 21st. And
Yep.
And then, of course, go check that out at the Gettysburg BattlefieldBash.com. And so I think I've got all those links in the.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
it. Absolutely. Well, like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us tonight. I know you are extremely busy, and
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. It's a real honor. Dee, let's see. We've got 2 comments here. Dr. Sumner says Shepherdstown is very cool, and Dee Hoot says, have you investigated at Harper's Ferry?
I have. I've done things like out on the streets, and we've gone up to the ruins. Some really good EVPs up there.
Wow. Do you all have
worth it?
Okay. Do you all have any of your EVPs or anything like that posted anywhere?
If you go on the Hoover House Facebook page, there are some EVPs up there. Yes.
Okay. And it's a very nice page, the Facebook page. So definitely you all go on and check out the Hoover House, check out the Battlefield Bash, and also check out the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange. I know you'll find a lot of information on all of these different sites, and definitely need to make a trip up there.
Anytime. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, just like I said, just to kind of wrap up a few little things like we had mentioned, we've got Women's History Month going on at the historic Scott County Jail, along with the flashlight tours, the public ghost hunts led by myself and Dr. Sumner. We also have our paranormal research study that's still going on, and that's going to be going on through the end of May. May 31st is going to be the last date for that. We still have a couple spaces, investigation places open. So if your team wants to take a stab at our paranormal research study while you're investigating there at the jail, we've got that up there. And again, if you've not heard us talking about this, it's where we've got an item in a container, or possibly items in a container. Either myself or Dr. Sumner knows what this is. It is it's something that relates to a murder, the jail, and also somebody or persons who were housed inside the jail. We don't know, but come in, take a stab at it with any type of paranormal equipment other than video cameras or audio recorders. If you are a psychic medium, if you want to come in and kind of see what you get off this, we're looking to see what the items are, as well as what the crime was that they were used in, and then also some names. So if you'd like to take a stab at that, come book an investigation, or you can book one of our hour-long sessions, and you can sit with the item and put down your information. We'll seal it up in a box, and then on May 31st, we'll get with the detective, and he'll come in and review everything and let us know, if anybody is close to what the item is. So that's going on. All that information is on www.historicscottcojail.com, as well as on our Facebook page. And then next week, let's see, looks like we've got 2 more weekends left, or 2 more Thursdays left for our Women's History Month. Next week, I have something a little bit different. She's an actress. Her name is Constance Payne, and she's going to be talking about some of her paranormal experiences, as well as some of the different movies. She does a lot of action movies, so she's going to be coming on here and talking about that. So hope you guys will tune in for that. And then also this coming weekend on the Jailhouse Informant podcast, we've got a couple other ladies that we're just waiting on some confirmation to see if they're going to be coming on, but that will be Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So again, thank you, Pam, and thank you everyone here in the chat room.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, for your questions, your comments, and until next weekend, like I said, we're going to be making some announcements through the week of some other events that's going on at the jail as well. So until then, I hope everyone has a great week.